We are live.
Welcome to the WalterFootball.com Fantasy Football Strategy Show and DFS Strategy Show. It's our Week 19 edition. Joined once again by Michael Hofer. Michael, how are you? How's your Week 18? And congratulations on some great picks on last week's episode.
Well, thank you, Walter. Yeah, it was a pretty good week. Was right about predicting the end of the evil empire, Tommy's history. Giselle pays the bills. She's wanted Tommy to retire for years. They already own a home in L.A., so the Chargers also built the new home in L.A., so I think Tommy's done with New England. Derrick Henry is a real man, and after years of suffering through Ted Thompson and Mike McCarthy, I can laugh at the Dallas Cowboys.
Right. Also joined by Kim Calhoun. Kim, how are you?
Hi, guys. I'm doing great. I'm very, very excited about everything that's going on. And Walter, as you and I discussed, my fantasy team might not have won, but my real team did. So I won.
Congratulations on that. That was quite the upset in New Orleans.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, with some drama at the end with the pass interference that probably should have been at least looked at. They didn't even look at it, but that's neither here nor there, I guess, unless you're a Saints fan and you're frustrated once again.
Can that change the things moving forward in future games? Is that something that they're going to be taking a look at and making any changes in the rules?
I think they're actually going to revert to their previous rules just based on how epically terrible the rule change was this year, because they barely overturned any pass interferences. I'm just making up a stat here, but it seemed like it was 10% at the time, which is just ridiculous. And they came up with this clear and obvious this jargon that they used to not overturn a lot of pass interferences. And whenever they said that, they're like, "This is not clear and obvious." I'm like, this seems clear and obvious to me. I don't know what they're looking at. But yeah, that's Michael. Any thoughts on that before we move on?
Well, yeah, it's been the history of the NFL and the NBA when you're in the playoffs to let them play. So it was PI, but nobody expects them to call that. I think a worse case, a more egregious case, is that the NFL has not suspended Jadeveon Clowney, that he did not get penalized on the play, that he should have been thrown out right then. He still should be thrown out, and he shouldn't play this week. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. He should have been ejected for that. And if he was ejected for that, then you don't have to suspend him this week. And when they let him let him play on, I thought that there was a chance that he would be suspended for this week's game. But the NFL came out and said that it was not a penalty. It should not have been a penalty, which I think is another mistake by the NFL. He clearly used his helmet as a weapon. And I was talking to people, obviously here in Philadelphia. People were pretty angry about it, and they were saying, "Oh, David Clowney should be in prison." Like, I was like, "Okay, maybe not prison, but I think that's taking it a little too far." But yeah, it definitely ruined Philadelphia's chances of winning, and it also ruined my chances of winning on DraftKings because I had Carson Wentz was my highest exposed quarterback. I feel like I had a great lineup. I had great lineups for the Sunday slate. I actually have them pulled up here. Adam Thielen was my highest exposed receiver. I had him in 90% of lineups. DK Metcalf was my second highest exposed receiver at 65%. And my running backs, which I'll click over, Dalvin Cook was my number one running back. So I had everything correct. But then when you get to quarterback, in most of my lineups. So all those lineups got shot down. I actually cashed some of them. But it's just a shame because as soon as Wentz went down, I was like, oh no, because I also bet on the Eagles. I'm like, all right, I'm going to lose that bet. And then I'm like, oh no, I'm going to lose the DraftKings lineups too. So pretty frustrating.
I think it's comparable with what Myles Garrett did. And if they've got the rule, they need to enforce it. If they really care about player safety, they need to stop this stuff. And how are they going to stop this stuff? Only by suspending the guy. It's ridiculous. They're hypocrites.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. So something you mentioned earlier, I think we should delve into a little bit with the Patriots dynasty. I'm not convinced it's finally over. I know that Brady put his house on the market, but I think there's a chance that Brady could come back for another year. But I don't think he's retiring. He said he's not, and I think he's going to go somewhere else if the Patriots don't want him back. A possibility, I think, for him would be Indianapolis because the Colts team is ready to win now. They have the best offensive line out of all the possibilities for him. And I think there's something to be said about him going to where Peyton Manning used to play and winning a championship there. I think even though Peyton Manning's retired, I think they still have a rivalry. And I wouldn't surprise me if Brady wanted to stick it to Manning one last time and win where Manning used to, where he only won once, by the way. So if he can match Manning's Super Bowl trophies in Indianapolis, I think that would say a lot.
Well, yeah, that would definitely be a good spot for him. Again, I think Gisele's the boss. I think she's been very patient with him not retiring. She's been a supportive wife, and she wants to be in LA.
Yeah, I guess. And so the LA Chargers are a possibility as well. They're moving into a new stadium. I'm sure they're going to throw a lot of money at Brady because they want to sell tickets. And we know the Chargers have no fans. So like there might be a chance to get the Chargers to have fans for a change. So that would be nice. I don't know if it's going to fix anything long term, but the short term, it could work out. The thing is, though, with Brady going to the Chargers have a terrible offensive line. So, if I were him, I'd want to go to Indianapolis for one more year, maybe 2 years, and then retire. So I think Gisele can wait a couple years.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
So about for the next few months, it's just never going to stop until the decision is finally made.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. It should be an interesting offseason. We have Drew Brees as a free agent, Philip Rivers a free agent, Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, Ryan Tannehill, all these guys are free agents. So this is the most loaded quarterback free agency class I've ever seen. Even Marcus Mariota, some teams going to give him a chance to be a high-end backup and maybe compete as a starter. So, there's going to be a lot going on this offseason. But yeah, there's been a lot going on this week as well with the coaching changes. Anything stand out to you? Like, what do you think was? Well, let's start positively. Like, what do you think was the best hire?
Matt Rule, and I know you don't agree with that one because you don't like college coaches, but everybody's had to start somewhere. Vince Lombardi never was even a head coach anywhere except in high school. Guys like Jimmy Johnson, Urban Meyer, Matt Rule, they have all won no matter where they've gone. And Rule in particular, he took a 2-win Temple team and a 1-win Baylor team to 6-6 in the first year, and Baylor was 7-6. Yeah, he knows how to turn around a program. He's got a decision to make with Cam Newton, though, and they definitely need to improve the run defense and the offensive line. That's all. And they gave him 7 years, $60 million. So at least he's got total control. It's not like a Jason Garrett situation. So I like that one. I like Joe Judge. Mike McCarthy's laughable, and we'll see what happens in Cleveland.
Yeah, so I just don't see how turning Temple and Baylor around translates to the NFL at all. Like yeah, he took bottom barrel college programs that were not expected to win. He got them to be competitive. Like getting Temple to win is nice, but at the same time, he wasn't playing any tough competition. So I don't know like what that has to do with the NFL. And then like Baylor, he got them to the Big 12 championship and almost beat Oklahoma. So obviously he's a great college coach, like definitely, but. Like turning bottom barrel programs around in college, that has nothing to do with coaching professional athletes in the NFL. And he's never coached in the NFL. He was a one-time defensive or line assistant coach with the Giants in 2012. That's his only NFL experience. So he has no experience coaching professional athletes. And I think coaching professional athletes is a lot different than coaching college athletes because you have complete control over college athletes. With the NFL,
about Jimmy Johnson though too. I actually thought that about Jimmy Johnson at the time.
And Jimmy Johnson was the lone exception, and he had tons of talent in Dallas. But you look at every single college coach who's tried this afterward. Steve Spurrier was an epic failure. Chip Kelly was terrible. Cliff Kingsbury, I don't have much faith in. Like these guys. Except for Jimmy Johnson, have all failed going from college to the NFL. I just don't know how you take a Baylor head coach and make him the NFL coach. Like I could see making him a coordinator and then in a few years hiring him as a head coach once he gets NFL experience. But for him just to go from college to the pros, I think is I would not have done it, and I certainly would not have given them that much money. Although Bobby Axelrod, the Panthers owner, can afford to give him as much money as he wants.
Well, there's also a sliminess factor here that I don't like. He's a New York City native, and he called the Giants before signing the contract to see if the Giants would pay him more and lure him to get on a plane. And the Giants said, no, we're not paying you that.
Yeah, I don't mind that too much. I'm all for someone trying to get paid as much money as possible.
The Giants already offered him, and the loyalty thing and the sliminess thing. Now, it'll be interesting to see what Cleveland Chief Strategy Officer Paul Podesta does on his Moneyball choice. But you and I both agree on the sliminess of Josh McDaniels. The guy I like for Cleveland is the most loyal guy on the planet, although Cleveland's never been loyal to anyone. So I think I saw there are odds on this. You can win a lot of money if you pick the right Cleveland coach. And right now the favorite is Josh McDaniel. Neither you or I believe that he's going to be the choice.
No, I don't think so either. I think he's going to be the Patriots' next head coach once Bill Belichick retires. It's kind of like it reminds me of Star Trek: The Next Generation, where William T. Wright kept going on the Enterprise because he wanted the captain's chair in New England. It's kind of like the Patriots are the Enterprise of the NFL. So I think McDaniels is going to be the Patriots head coach once Belichick steps down. I think it's going to be Saleh, the 49ers defensive coordinator. He got a ton of hype earlier in the season. He did a great job with the 49ers defense. So I think, and the fact that the Browns haven't hired anyone yet tells me that they're looking at someone still coaching. So it could be Saleh, maybe McDaniels, but I don't think so. So someone like that.
Yeah, excellent point. I like Kevin Stefanski. He's only 37 years old. He's been with the Vikings since 2006. He was with Brad Childress. He was there with Brett Favre. He's coached quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, and now the entire offense. He got the best out of Case Keenum in 2017 and has gotten Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook to be fantastic this year. So he's everything the Browns could ask for. Young, proven, loyal, unlike how the Browns are not loyal. They change their coach like they change their underwear.
Yeah.
So kind of young for a coach, isn't it? 37?
That's been the trend.
Yeah, well, it's been a theme. Like Sean McVay was 31, 32 when he took over for the Rams. So this has kind of been a new trend where teams are hiring young offensive-minded coaches because it's worked with McVay and with the Rams. So I think they're willing to take a chance. And Michael, I think you might be onto something with Stefanski. I think it's either him or Saleh. I don't know who the favorite is, but I feel like one of those two guys is most likely to be the Browns' new head coach. So we'll see what they do. I think the worst.
Josh McDaniels minus 200. I mean, plus 200, 100 to 1,200. Robert Saleh, 350. Stefanski's 500. Lincoln Riley, 700. And Schwartz, they got Schwartz at 1,400. It's just kind of amazing because they're making a big deal about interviewing him. So I found that very interesting.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they hired Jim Schwartz. I don't really understand that hire at all. He had his chance in Detroit and he failed. So I don't see why they'd give him another one. But if they hired him, it would not be worse than the McCarthy hire. I thought that was the worst one by far. I don't understand what Dallas is thinking. They basically had a backward thinking head coach who didn't prepare his team well and whose team often underperformed. And yet they hired a backward-thinking coach whose team often underperformed. And it's kind of like the same thing. And I saw someone say that Mike McCarthy is basically a fat Jason Garrett on Twitter. I saw someone say that on Twitter.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
People are mean. Oh, my gosh. I hate social media when it comes to that. I mean.
I guess Eric Bieniemy is just the Rooney Rule guy then, which is a shame because the other two guys that were in that position for Andy Reid are head coaches right now. But is it because Eric Bieniemy's black that he's not going to be a head coach yet?
Yeah, it really is a shame. I think Bieniemy would be a great head coach. I think teams should have hired him, or someone should have hired him. Even the Browns. He used to play for the Bengals, so he's kind of he knows that division well. He's from Ohio, or he used to play in Ohio at least. So I think that would make a lot of sense for the Browns. But I expect the Browns to make the wrong decision no matter what they do. It's kind of like
like the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys?
Cowboys too. Yeah. So anything else on the coaches? Because I'm eager to jump into this Bachelor Gate story on DraftKings.
God.
All right, let's
Oh my
roll.
gosh, the drama. Oh my gosh, let's talk about this fantasy drama. Let's go for it.
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't heard, the $1 million contest winner, I might as well pull it up here. I think this is the right one though. So here it is, Jade Roper, who used to be one of the Bachelorettes. I don't know if she's the Bachelorette, but she was on The Bachelor as one of the women. I don't watch that garbage.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I have no.
Yeah, I would have never heard of her if she never won this contest, but apparently she was on The Bachelor in some fashion. So first of all, let's look at her lineup. I think that's worth looking into. And she did a game stack here. She did the Houston Buffalo game stack. She had Sean Watson, paired Watson not with Hopkins, which is interesting. She paired him with Kenny Stills and Darren Fells, and she ran it back with Devin Singletary. So it was a 3x1 stack. I like 3x2 better, but there is 3x1 is very good as well. Her other players are Alvin Kamara, DK Metcalf. Props to you, Michael, for nailing Metcalf last week. And you kind of talked me into that last week during the show. I had Lockett over Metcalf. But actually, I moved Metcalf up in my rankings later in the week, and I had, as I showed before, I had way more Metcalf than Lockett in my lineups. Anyway, Thielen, I love Thielen. He was my top play on DraftKings. Then Dalvin Cook, and then Titans defense. So this took down the tournament, 180 points. She won by 2.
How deep do the prizes go on that, by the way? Do they go like the 50th or second, or is first the only thing that pays off?
Yeah, here is the breakdown. So it's a big drop off. First is $1 million, second is 100,000, third is 40,000, and it keeps going. So if you get 50th place, let's look at 50th place is $700.
Okay,
keep going down. The last place that pays is 21,250th. They get $40. So it's out of 105,000 players. So basically, you have to be top 20% to cash.
That's what we do, right?
Exactly. All right. So okay. So Jade Roper won this contest, 180.78. So the drama began when Chris Randone, who used to also be on The Bachelor, he tweeted out. He said, "Congratulations to Tanner Roper for winning the $1 million maker." And people are like, "What? Like what do you mean?" And then he deleted the tweet and then congratulated Jade. So Tanner Roper and Jade Roper are married. And so what happened was Tanner entered in 150 lineups. Jade entered in 150 lineups. All of Tanner's quarterbacks, if you break down the lineups, all of Tanner's quarterbacks were the Saturday quarterbacks. All of Jade's quarterbacks were the Sunday quarterbacks. So people looked at that and they said, "Oh my God, there might be collusion here," because it could easily been where Tanner created an account using Jade's name and he entered in 300 lineups instead of the 150 max, which you're allowed to enter. So DraftKings actually has a rule that says you can't collude like that. Not saying they did collude, but it certainly looks like they did. So they have this rule that you can't collude, and it's actually, I was reading up on this afterward. I always wondered why 150 max. It's 150 max for every single contest they do, no matter how large it is. And I always wonder why is it 150? Why not 200 or 300? There's actually a U.S. law that says a casino or any sort of company that offers gambling contests like this, contestants can't enter in 150 times, more than 150 times. It's actually a law. So if this is true, then Tanner Roper actually broke the law here. So he would have to. I don't know if he'd face prison time for this, or if he'd just have to forfeit all of his money, and this next person's SPCIK 36 would move up and win the $1 million. If I were this person, by the way, I'd be very pissed off. It's a difference of $900,000 if this is all true. Now they have to prove it to be true, so that might be difficult. But the way they constructed their lineups, it seemed very obvious that someone was entering this 300 times. So that's what I got out of it. So there's a lot of drama going on with this collusion, possible collusion, I should say. So any thoughts on this at all?
Yeah. So I did some math, but looking at all of the odds, because you would know this number better than I would with all the games and everything, what are the odds of putting them on top by having 300 stacked the way they did with the quarterbacks, the way they did? What are the odds of winning if you did that? Because one time somebody looked at the lottery and they said, you know what, if I bought all the tickets, I'll win this particular way. And they did. And they won a lot more than they spent. So I'm just wondering, what are the odds of them winning stacked like that?
Actually, it's funny you should say that, because I was in a charity raffle, and one of the prizes was a Billy Cunningham autographed basketball, and I threw like 50 tickets into the raffle, and I ended up winning. So that kind of works. So if you enter in 150 lineups, theoretically, your chances of winning the $1 Million Maker is 1 in 700. If you enter in 300 lineups, it's 1 in 350 ish.
Wow.
So your chances double, basically. So it's still a lot. Like 1 in 350 doesn't sound like that extreme, but you think about it this way: there are only 21 weeks in the NFL, or I guess 20 weeks if you're not counting the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl, there's only a showdown. So if you divide 350 by 20, you get 17. So that means if you enter in 300 lineups per week, you have you're going to win $1 Million Maker once every 17 and a half years. So that you could look at it that way and say, okay, every 17 years, if I do this, I'm going to win $1 million eventually. But if you consider it, if you enter in 300 lineups, that's $7,500. And if you multiply that by 20, you get it's $150,000 per year. And if you multiply that again by 17, you're spending $2.5 million to win $1 million. So it's very unprofitable, to say the least.
Well, that's what I was calculating. How much did they spend to win the million? But also, if you continue, like you were saying, gosh, you're going to spend your odds are way wrong for being able to make money off of that. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, this is all risk. I mean, this is not meant to be profitable. Like only 20%, the top 20% cash. And it's like, and as I showed before, $1 million gets first place, 100,000 gets second. Now it's 2.5 million to win $1 million, but in that time you could finish like 10th or something. And actually, it's funny that Jade Roper also got 7th place as well. She tied for 7th. So in addition to the $1 million, she also picked up $6,300. Nice bonus. So it was a great day for them or her. I don't know who entered those lineups, but it sounds like there's an investigation ongoing with DraftKings. They said they're going to investigate it, and they really have to, because the federal government could catch wind of this, and they could step.
They probably already have.
Right, but they could step in and give hand out regulations to this stuff, and I don't think anyone really wants to see that. So I hope DraftKings can come to a good decision here that can make everything fair for everyone, because this is just not right. To allegedly cheat like this.
Let me ask you this, and I like the way that you worded that, allegedly. That's very good. How often has somebody won the $1 million more than once?
Sorry, say it again.
Has anyone ever won this more than once?
A few people have won it twice. I don't think anyone's won it 3 times. And it's funny because like the number 1 ranked player in the world is Alex Baker, Osimo. He's never won this. He's never won the $1 million contest. And I know Brick75, who is I forget his real name. He has also never won it, and he's the 7th best player in the world in terms of winnings. So they win other contests. This is tough to win. It's 105,000 entries. It's so difficult to win it, even with 150 and even with 300 entries. I just pointed out you have a 1 in 350 chance. So it is difficult, but you still with 300 entries, you doubled your chances to win, which put everyone else at a disadvantage. And it just feels bad to see that happen and to have a negative stigma here. So that's why I want DraftKings to step in and really, if they do find collusion, then I hope they punish them and really help. The second place winner, I hope he or she gets first.
No, I agree. I mean, I think there needs to be some liability put out there. I've not read the rules, but I would be too afraid to do anything beyond what I do anyway. So, but do the rules ever say that they will enforce anything a certain way?
The rules don't say that they'll the rules don't say what they'll actually do, but the rules actually say you can't collude like this. Now, like we can discuss our lineup strategy and enter in different lineups, like that's totally fair. But if I were to make an account for you and then enter in lineups myself, that is not allowed. So
Michael told me that too. Like we can talk about it and he can give me some advice and tips, but he can't just do it for me, on the other thing, that the flea flicker that we do. So, he's very good at making sure we mind our rules. So,
yeah. And there's, I mean,
Coach Mark.
Well, and there's also the thing where, as I mentioned before, Chris Randone congratulated the husband for winning. So there's you can look at that as well. I don't know if that you can't. I don't think you can issue that as evidence, but it is very shady, I think.
It adds up, though. Yeah, it adds up.
Yeah, that is true.
Can I give you bad props for mentioning Billy Cunningham and go on a brief sidebar on a nostalgic moment of my life?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Kim, do you know who Billy Cunningham is?
I probably do. Go ahead.
Okay. Billy Cunningham is one of the greatest basketball players in NBA history.
Yeah.
And it's like prisoner of the moment. Everybody thinks Michael Jordan's the greatest because they were alive during that time. It's great that you mention him because in around 1970, I was 13 years old. My mom testified for a state attorney, and we were rewarded for her testimony. I got sent to a Billy Cunningham basketball summer camp, and I wasn't very good as a scorer, but I was great on defense. And during the camp, Billy Cunningham came straight up the key, and I stuffed him. That is my basketball life moment, seriously, because he just looked like everybody was like froze from him, like nobody could believe I stuffed Billy Cunningham. But that's what I did. I mean, my dad and I used to beat the hell out of each other one-on-one in the driveway every day. My mom hated that, but that's my moment of glory.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
That's really cool. It's nice that you had that moment with your dad too, because when I won the Cunningham basketball, it wasn't for me. I actually gave it to my dad for his birthday.
Way to go!
Yeah, I'm sure your dad loves that. Treasures.
Yeah, according to your book, your dad was really big into the basketball, right?
Yeah, he still is. He loves football, basketball, and hockey. But yeah, basketball is his favorite sport, and he has all this memorabilia in his room or in his office. So it and also that Billy Cunningham basketball. That's actually why I wanted to win it so badly. Like I didn't want it for myself. I wanted to win it for my dad. So I was glad I could give it to him. So anyway,
yes, he was a good coach too.
What'd you say?
He was a good coach too, Billy C.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, he's a great coach for the Sixers. So let's jump into the DraftKings lineup building portion. So we have Lamar Jackson, $8,400. By far the most expensive quarterback I've seen this year. I haven't seen a quarterback above 8,000. That's a lot of money for Lamar Jackson. Understandably so, though. I mean, Jackson is a special talent, and he's projected to be the highest quarterback. And then we have Patrick Mahomes, and then a bunch of other guys. So, Michael, any thoughts on how we're going to game stack this?
Well, I think there's no doubt as to who the top receiver is going to be. Devontae Adams has been targeted at least 13 times in 3 straight games. The Seahawks defense gave up 263.9 yards per game, 27th in the NFL. Adams has had 27 catches for 312 yards and 2 touchdowns over the last 3 weeks. And who's burned Seattle this year? John Ross, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans, 180 and a touchdown. Julio Jones, 152. So based on that and based on the price of Lamar Jackson and based on what you've taught me, we got to go Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. So Rodgers Adams is a great stack, but did you want to add a third Packer to that?
Well, I try to avoid my guys. I seriously do. But
I let him down every time.
Look at your lineups first before I set my own. And I thought, wow, you got to go with Aaron Jones. And then I looked, you got Aaron Jones number 1. So it's like you and I are in total agreement on this. Amazing. So yes, Aaron Jones, love it.
All right, sounds good. And then you want to run it back with the Seattle player because the way to win this is to pick a game that is a shootout, a high scoring shootout. So any thoughts on which Seattle player to play?
That one was tough. You could go with Homer or you go with Hollister. I mean, who is price worthy here in your opinion?
Yeah, so Travis Homer is $5,100. You have Marshawn Lynch at $4,800. Surprised that Marshawn Lynch caught a couple passes last week, so I thought that was interesting. Someone I might be looking at if Jerron Brown is out, I think David Moore would be an option for Seattle at only $3,900. It's a nice punt. I could see him catching a touchdown and doing well. Someone who stands out to me as well is Jacob Hollister, $4,000. So I like Hollister. I also like Jimmy Graham a bit this week because Seattle can't stop tight ends. But if we're not going Jimmy Graham, I think Jacob Hollister is a nice option.
Yeah,
he's good. He's a good price too.
Yeah, he's only $4,000. As for Seattle's other receivers, we have DK Metcalf at $6,800 and Tyler Lockett at $6,600. Any thoughts on adding one of these guys to the roster as well?
Boy, that's tough, Walter.
Yeah, it is. It is tough salary wise. That's the only problem. So I think we should kind of build the rest of our lineup and see if we can get one of them in. So running back, we have some cheaper guys. I'm looking at. We have LaShawn McCoy, $4,400. Seems like they've been saving him for the playoffs, so I think he could definitely be in there. We have Matt Breida, $3,300. Not too crazy about him. Also, Tevin Coleman, $3,500. You never know. Like one of these Niners guys might get more carries than we think. Not that I would bank on that, but I think it's definitely a possibility.
I like Mostert.
Sorry,
I do like Mostert.
Yeah, I like Mostert too. The problem is he's $5,800, but we can try to put Mostert in and see what happens. So receivers. So the 49er receivers stood out to me as being pretty cheap. We have Emmanuel Sanders, $5,400, and Deebo Samuel, $5,200. And actually right below that, we have Will Fuller at $5,000. So I think all three of these guys are decent options. I mentioned David Moore before. And if, like I said, if Jerron Brown's out, I think I would be playing Moore quite a bit. As for other receivers, we have Geronimo Allison, $3,600. Doesn't sound great, but he could always catch a touchdown. Same thing with like Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I really hate him as a player. But he could be live for a touchdown as well. So I think there's some cheap options here who stand out. Kendrick Bourne, another one at $3,700. Actually, I want to see how many targets. So 3, 2, 4 targets seems okay. $3,700. You don't need him to do much for him to pay off his price. So any thoughts on these receivers, Michael?
I'm down with Deebo.
Okay, let's put in Deebo, $5,200. So we have room for one more receiver. Any thoughts on that one?
I actually went with Travis. In my lineup, I went with Travis Kelce, and as a flex, I put in another tight end. So I went with the 2 tight end strategy.
Yeah, well, we have to pick a third receiver. So I think that you know what? If Adam Humphries is out, I think Taji Sharp's okay. He had 3 targets last week, 2, then 6. At $3,500, he doesn't need to pay. He doesn't need to do much. So I think he could be like a nice placeholder for now, and maybe we can see if we can upgrade him later on. And let's just do the defense before we do the flex.
And defenses are random. You and I agree on that. So that's how we get. That's how we get the price down. Although the Texans, I can't go against Kansas City. I mean, that's the one team I'm sure about this week.
I agree.
So I'm fine with the Titans. I think Lamar reminds me of RG3, and I just think eventually somebody's going to figure it out. Once they get some tape on it, they're going to figure out a way to stop that guy, especially since the NFL isn't going to suspend you if you hit a guy in the helmet.
Yeah, that's stuff. All right, so
they might play harder because of who they're playing against, right?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
All you need is the fumble return for a touchdown, and then your defense.
That's why Clowney did it, because he's thinking he's going to get paid by the Seahawks. He's waiting on a new contract. So he thinks by helping his team, knocking out the guy, he's actually going to make money too. That's why they do it. Yeah, it's horrible.
Sure.
No, I think that's a very good pick, especially because of who they're up against. Even though they're the first pick,
They got New England.
yeah. No, I think you're right. I think that's a good pick. Tennessee's a good pick.
Also, Lamar Jackson has been idle for weeks now, and he's going to be at sync. I don't like that sitting players in the bye sometimes. They're playing a hungry team right now. They are not. Their timing. It's going to take them probably until halftime before they get in sync.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that. I can see him struggling a little bit. Although I like John Harbaugh coming off a bye. He's one of the best coaches in the NFL.
Indeed. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so we have 7,400 left over, so we can just plug in DeAndre Hopkins in the flex. But I don't know if you want to do that. We don't have a Chief, which seems wrong to me. I feel like the Chiefs.
That's why I went with Kelsey.
Okay, so let's try Kelsey in the flex, which means we have $1,000 left over, so we can get rid of Sharp, and we'll have 4,500 for a receiver. So we can have Alan Lazard, Marquise Brown, which he's very cheap. I think this might be the cheapest he's been all year, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
He's except for week 1 when he had that big game. This is the cheapest Marquise Brown has been the entire year, except for week 1. So he's someone who stands out to me as well. So I'd be fine putting in Brown at 40 here at 44, or even Sammy Watkins at 43. And you know what? Even one of Hardman or Robinson, I feel like one of them could catch a touchdown. So, any thoughts on who to put here?
I totally agree with you. Lazard has been very reliable this year, so I don't think that's a long shot like Geronimo Allison would be. But Hollywood Brown, yeah. How long is that guy gonna? Yeah, I'm surprised that they haven't used him more this year, and this would be a good game to get him involved for sure.
Okay, yeah. So that's our lineup: Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Raheem Mostert, Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, Marquise Brown, Jacob Hollister, Travis Kelce, and Titans defense. Actually, I want to change. This is something I pointed out before. You want to have the later guys put in the flex. So Kelce plays earlier than Jacob Hollister. So you want to have Jacob Hollister in the flex.
Indeed. Yeah, because you can switch it to Jimmy Graham too.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And then Titans defense.
I love it. Nobody knows we're doing this, right? I mean,
yeah, we're gonna have a totally unique lineup.
Well, nobody dialed in, and if they did, we weren't logged in. If they came in early, so I don't think anyone's watching us right now. It doesn't mean they can't watch us later because this will be, this is video on demand. So this is beautiful lineup. I think it's pretty cool. I like the way you pick them. I got a question to ask you. I got a notice on mine that says I placed. I don't know what that means.
So you won money, I guess?
No, I don't think I won money, but it says I placed, and then it's got a orange thing and then a blue XP with 10 points.
I don't know. I don't know what XP is. I know you can get crowns.
I have crowns. I notice I've been getting a lot of crowns, but it just said that I finally placed. So I don't. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know about that, but like something I do want to point out is if you're just starting this, you can go to rewards, and they'll give you missions and daily rewards. They'll give you something every day. And also in NFL achievements or any other sport you might play, they'll give you some crowns or actually some money or tickets, depending on what you do. And crowns are you can use crowns to enter contests for free. So they're kind of like money on DraftKings. I know 550 crowns I think is $1.
What was the entry fee for what you just did with our lineup?
Was what?
With the lineup we just chose, what was the entry fee on that?
That was a $1 contest. So actually, I wanted to bring that up as well. So they have the $1 million contest this week is a $25 entry like it was last week. But they have different contests. So the one I was looking at is if you sort by entries, you can see this. It's called the NFL 150K first down. It's a $1 entry, and granted, you're not going to win $1 million for first place, but first place is $10,000, which is not insignificant, obviously. So, if you're starting out, if you want to lower your risk and still have fun, I think this is a great contest to start. It's only $1, and you can win 10 grand. So.
I've been playing those little games like that, and I don't feel like they hurt me much. They don't use, $1 here. I think the most I've spent on a game was 10 one time, just because it was the first time and I was real excited.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing, but there's the KFC every week that's free.
Yep.
And I play that every week, so that's where I get my practice.
So you're not entering in these $10,000 entry contests?
I'm waiting until I begin. Beginner's luck isn't for fantasy football. I'm just going to tell you right now, right, guys? There's some serious people out there who know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, there are some absolute sharks in this. It's funny. This is called the NFL 100K nosebleed. 75,000 the first, $10,000 entry, but there are only 10 people in this. So I want to see these prizes. So yeah, they only give out prizes for first and second. 75,000 the first, 25,000 the second. So I know Peter Gibbons is a professional player. I recognize that name. So you're going to have some definite sharks in these contests. So I always find it interesting to see like who's playing. Yeah, Peter Gibbons again, as you can see.
Oh yeah, I did that one day. I went through to see what kind of people, who they are.
Yep.
You're right. There's some of these guys really, they know what they're doing. They know how to lay the land out to leverage their odds like you would on the craps table. So yeah, it's
Papa Gates, another one of the top players in the world. So Laz Gets Fit is another one. So yeah, you can tell who these guys are after a while. You'll see the same names over and over again sometimes. All right, so let's jump into the fantasy cruncher. I actually in honor of the I guess Bachelorgate on DraftKings, I actually crunched 300 lineups to see what would happen if I entered in 300 lineups. And it's funny, I looked at my quarterback exposures. Ryan Tannehill made only one lineup. This is the ideal lineup, the optimal lineups, and Ryan Tannehill was only in one, which I thought was funny. So the Ryan Tannehill lineup. Tannehill is cheap. So we got Ryan Tannehill, Dalvin Cook, Mark Ingram, Tajay Sharp, Marquise Brown, Tyreek Hill, Jonnu Smith, Aaron Jones, 49ers defense. So if you want to enter a Tannehill lineup, I think this is the most optimal way to do so. But I definitely wouldn't recommend it. So, otherwise, my quarterback exposures were let's see. Patrick Mahomes, 31%. Jimmy Garoppolo, 19%. Russell Wilson, 15%. Deshaun Watson, 13%. Aaron Rodgers, 11%. Lamar Jackson, 7%. Kirk Cousins, 3%. Jackson being only 7% is a byproduct of his price, I think. And I think Mahomes is number one because I think he makes for the best stacking quarterback because it's so easy to stack Hill and Kelsey with him. So that's why it gave me that. So.
What's your opinion of Will Fuller's status? Because he's a wild card that would definitely be a difference maker if he plays.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's going to be in. I have him in right now in my projections, but yeah, that's definitely something to monitor. I have a feeling that most of my Deshaun Watson lineups might have Will Fuller, so I can do that. You click on a magnifying glass and then click on receivers. Yeah, so in my Deshaun Watson lineups, Will Fuller's in 60% of them. Hopkins is 65%. So yeah, this is really cool how you can like look at your lineups this way and see how it all breaks down.
Yeah,
it's just the 300 lineups is kind of crazy. It's a lot to manage for sure. I think we can get into the rankings for the week. So we can do that here. So sort by quarterback. So we only have 8 quarterbacks, obviously, with eight teams playing. So Lamar Jackson, number one. Patrick Mahomes number 2, and then I think there's a wide gap after that. And we have a 3 quarterbacks I think are fairly even after that. Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers. I think you can order those guys any way you want. I do think the Seattle Green Bay game is going to be lower scoring than people might expect it to be. I think it's going to be a slugfest. So that's why, I have Rodgers as my 5th quarterback, but he could easily be the number 3 quarterback this week for sure. And then we have Jimmy Garoppolo, number 6, Kirk Cousins, number 7, and then Ryan. Actually, I have Cousins and Tannehill tied for last. Michael, thoughts on this? You probably think Rodgers should be higher, right?
Yeah, I do, and I also love my homie. I mean, Patrick Mahomes. I think is going to be the number 1 quarterback this week, but it could be Aaron. It's an important game, and I think the reins are going to come off Aaron this week. We'll see more like we used to see from Aaron Rodgers. Although Seattle's run defense is pretty lousy too.
Yeah, so something in Rodgers' favor is if you look at the ownership percentages, and this changes throughout the week. So this is the first run through. Rodgers is only in 10% of lineups compared to Patrick Mahomes, who's in 22%, Lamar Jackson 19%. Like I said, this is going to change throughout the week, and the percentages will be different by Saturday. But the initial run through says Rodgers is going to be the 6th most owned quarterback. So there's definitely some leverage to be had with Rodgers.
Definitely, we love that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, running backs. I actually moved Dalvin Cook up to number 1, and then I moved Aaron Jones to number 2. I love Dalvin Cook. I think he's so good. And doing so, I think I don't want to say I manipulated this, because if I have Jones over Cook, I'm not going to get Dalvin Cook at all in any of my lineups. It's just going to prioritize Aaron Jones for the most part. So I have Cook number 1, Jones 2, but I think you can order that anyway. I love both guys. I'm going to try to get as much as Cook and Jones as possible in my lineups. Then we have Derrick Henry, number 3.
Considering how much you love the San Francisco defense all year, that's a big surprise to me. And I agree with you. I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a great game.
Yeah, but the Saints' run defense is actually even better than San Francisco's, according to DVOA. And we saw what Dalvin Cook did to them. I think someone as special as Cook is kind of matchup proof. I'm fine. I'm fine with it. Number 3, Derrick Henry, very difficult matchup, but he could get a touchdown, I suppose. Number 4, Raheem Mostert, who we have in our lineup. Number 5, Damian Williams. This one's a little difficult with McCoy possibly playing more. Not really sure what to make of it, but I think Williams has a chance to score a touchdown and catch some passes. Number 6, Mark Ingram. Fine play, not great though. Number 7, Travis Homer. This is PPR. Homer and non-PPR is definitely not someone I'd like, but in PPR, I think he's okay. Number 8, Marshawn Lynch. He might fall into the end zone again. Definitely possible. Number 9, Carlos Hyde. I don't like Carlos Hyde, but we're running out of options here. And then number 10, Duke Johnson. I like Duke Johnson better than Carlos Hyde as a player, but for some reason he's not getting as many touches. Thoughts on the top 10, Michael?
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
All right, awesome. Let's get to the receivers. So here I have Tyreek Hill number 1 and Adams number 2. The reason I have this is because I think Tyreek Hill has more upside than Adams. I think Adams is safer, but I think Tyreek Hill has more upside because he can really go the distance anytime he touches the ball, and I think the Chiefs will score more points. I also think it's a better matchup for Hill. It is a good matchup for Adams, but Hill against Houston's secondary, which has been awful. I think Hill has the chance to really explode. Like it wouldn't surprise me. Like what'd you say your projected stat line for Adams was, or not projected, but like possible? What'd you say, like 130 yards and a touchdown? Is that what you said? Yeah. Like I think that's definitely possible. I think that's actually pretty probable. But I could see like Hill could go 6 for 180 and 3 touchdowns. Like he has that sort of upside. So that's why I wanted to prioritize Hill over Adams, but it's very close. So I'm going to have equal. I don't know about equal amounts, but I'm going to have both of them for sure. Number 3, DeAndre Hopkins. Not a great matchup, but Kansas City's pass defense has been very good. And here we go to DK Metcalf over Tyler Lockett to hopefully make you happy there, Michael. So I'm right there with you. Metcalf is a monster. He's so good.
Well, he was wrong when he came into the league, and just in the last few weeks, he's suddenly running routes and getting it, and he's just a physical specimen. He's super fast, and Tyler Lockett is just a short gadget player. I mean, this guy could be a big-time, really big-time NFL receiver.
Yeah, I could see him. If he keeps working hard and doesn't get hurt, I could see him being the best receiver in the NFL.
Oh, working hard. I mean, look at the way he's ripped. That was the thing that I noticed right around the draft. The guy's just totally ripped. So he is willing to work hard. That's very important.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. All right, number 6, Adam Thielen, and then number 7, Stephon Diggs. I want to have one of these guys in my lineups. I feel like it is a tough matchup, but they're so good, and I think one of them will go up, kind of like Thielen did last week. And the ownership on Thielen is only 8% projected. That's so low.
Wow.
I think that, it was kind of like the same thing last week. No one had Thielen. I had him in 90% of my lineup.
He made a lot of mistakes. He actually had a lousy game. He made a lot of mistakes in that game, and he still had fantastic stats. So I would have to agree with you on that. Thielen definitely should have a better performance.
Yeah, really pissed me off that Carson Wentz got hurt because he was in 90% of my lineups, and when Thielen finished that game, I was like, oh my god, I still have Wentz going with that stack. I'm gonna do well, and then kind of the house of cards came crumbling down when Wentz got hurt. But
that dime to Thielen from Cousins is the same exact pattern, same exact pass that earlier in the season Kirk Cousins apologized to him for missing him on it. Yep. Exact same thing. So that was that's like a Hollywood movie. Unbelievable.
Yeah, no, that's true. And they almost scored a touchdown on that play too. He used yards to the end zone. So his stats could have been even better. All right, so to finish out the receivers, 8 and 9 are the 49ers guys, Emmanuel Sanders and Deebo Samuel. Not sure who to put ahead of whom. I think they're
Deebo.
You like Deebo? I could see that. I like Sanders as well. And Deebo's cheaper, so he's going to be prioritized more.
There you go.
And number 10, Alan Lazard, who's kind of stepped up lately. I don't have AJ Brown in my top 10, but Baltimore's defense is ridiculous. Their secondary is so great. I couldn't put Brown there. So thoughts on the top 10, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I had the same issue with Brown, and the price is prohibitive anyway. So. But again, it's AJ Brown, man. So yeah, I totally agree with what you said.
Yeah. So as you can see here in this column, it says used. It's the percentage I got from crunching the 300 lineups. I only got the 3% AJ Brown. By far the lowest of the top receivers. You can go down all the way to David Moore to the next receiver I didn't have.
Right.
So yeah, the price is tough. 6,000 is a lot for a guy playing a very difficult matchup. If he were 4,500, I would have a lot more interest, but 6,000 is difficult. Let's go to tight ends. George Kittle, number 1, Travis Kelce, number 2. I think you can go either way with it. Kittle being the number 1 option for San Francisco has a lot to do with that. Whereas Kelce, it could be Tyreek Hill, and then it could be Kelce as well. So that's why I went Kittle over Kelce, but I would not complain if you had Kelce over Kittle. Number 3, Mark Andrews, terrific matchup against the Titans who can't stop tight ends. Number 4, Jacob Hollister, who we have in our lineup. Number 5, Darren Fells. I know you like Fells because I saw your lineup there.
Yeah.
Number 6, Jonnu Smith. Baltimore is pretty good against tight ends, but Jonnu Smith's going to catch some passes, I think. Number 7, Jimmy Graham. He's old and decrepit, but it's a good matchup against Seattle. Number 8, Kyle Rudolph, who's just okay. And Hayden Hurst or Smith.
If Thielen is doing well, because when Thielen does well, Rudolph does not.
Yeah, it's slim pickings.
Unless he kills a guy off.
Yeah, right. It's pretty slim pickings here at the end. Once you get past Jimmy Graham,
also because Watson goes to him in crucial situations. He dropped the pass last week that was unbelievable. That I thought, wow. But then Watson comes around with that miracle Houdini escape. But I think Fells is due, and it's a guy Watson likes. So with the price, I think that's a good guy. He was like a coin flip for me with the Seattle tight end, Hollister.
Yeah. So I definitely agree. Jordan Akins is the one wild card there. We don't know if he's going to play. So if he plays, that makes Fells a little bit worse. But if Akins is out, I think Fells is a good play. So I have him at number 5. All right, that's that. I guess
Diggs having an illness. Is that for real, or is he ticked off about something again?
I don't know.
Just checking. I saw the plus sign when you had Diggs up there. I didn't know he was injured, but they got him down as having an illness.
Oh yeah, he's questionable with butt hurt from that game.
He also threw a helmet during that game too.
Yeah, I don't know. You're winning the game, and you're angry that you're not getting catch. Like, seems
there's something weird going on there.
Yeah, I don't know, but this could be the squeaky wheel gets the grease opportunity.
Yeah, that's what happened last time. You told me that last time too. You told me that's what would happen with him.
Yeah, and I was thinking that, and then I was hoping he'd be low owned, but he's projected for almost 30% ownership. So you really don't have the leverage there. And I think with the receivers, if you see them highly owned, I'm more than happy to fade them as opposed to running backs, because running backs are more reliable, whereas receivers are pretty high variant in what they do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like why Michael Thomas was almost at 50% ownership last week. I had him in like 35% of my lineups. I had him under the field. Because I thought that I'd rather have Cook, I'd rather have Henry, I'd rather have Kamara than a highly owned receiver. So that was my thinking there. So I guess that's it. Anything else before we sign off, Michael or Kim?
Well, how about against the spread?
Against the spread, yeah. So do you want to go game by game, or do you just want to?
Yeah. Let's see that. What's your safe slate?
What's what?
It's an interesting slate, I think. I think this is, and we're helping guys make money with the lineup. So why not? Let's go against the spread too. You're very good at that.
Okay, so the first game is Minnesota, San Francisco. The line is Minnesota by San Francisco by 7. So who do you like there?
I think the Vikings will win straight up 23-20. So I'm going with the Vikings. I know you like the Vikings as well, but you think the 49ers are going to win, right?
Yeah, I think there's a better chance the Niners win than Minnesota, but I could definitely see an upset. I'm going. Well, I should say this. I initially thought I was going to bet the Minnesota money line, and then I thought to myself, I'm like, why don't I just bet them to win the Super Bowl? Because they're I believe they're 2.5 to 1 on the money line, but they're 14 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. So if they win this game, I'll have a 14 to 1 team in the semifinals, right? So, I feel like it's a good opportunity. So I think
betting somebody to win the Super Bowl, is that a different bet somewhere that you're doing, or do you just continue to hope that they keep winning until the final and then you bet on them?
No, in a sports book they'll have a section for games where you just bet games, but then they'll also have a section in it's called futures. And so that's where you can bet the Super Bowl. You can even bet the coin flip in the Super Bowl right now, which is kind of stupid.
Yeah, how long the national anthem will last? How many seconds?
You can bet the color of Gatorade. You can.
That one can be controlled by the singer too. That's the one that I think is the most dangerous one for collusion.
Yeah, and that's why sports books have a real cap on that. I think the max you can bet on that is like $100 or something. Just they just protect themselves. All right. The Saturday night game is Titans at the Ravens. The Ravens are favored by 10. Who do you like in that one?
I got Ravens 20-13. I think the game will be a lot closer than people think because of both defenses. So, but I think the Titans cover.
Okay, I'm going to be on Baltimore. I like John Harbaugh having extra time to prepare. John Harbaugh, as I said before, he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's 9-3 against the spread off a bye, and that makes sense. I don't like trends, but giving a coach like John Harbaugh extra time to prepare, I think is a huge advantage. I like him over Mike Vrabel, and I think this might be the end for Ryan Tannehill's Cinderella story. I liked what Tannehill did this year. I mean, he's played very well. Don't get me wrong.
Totally shocked me.
Yeah. Okay. The Sunday afternoon game is Texans at the Chiefs. Chiefs are favored by 9.5 or 10. It's 9.5 or 10, depending where you look. So who do you like in that one, Michael?
I'm with you. Total blowout with the Chiefs. I think you had 34-14.
Yeah, I was talking to Kim before we started recording, Michael, and I was talking about how in DVOA rankings, so 7 out of the 8 remaining playoff teams are in the top 10 of DVOA. Guess where the Texans are, because they're not in the top 10. like guess from 1 to 32. Where do you think they're ranked? Not to put it on the spot, just take a guess. Oh, they're 19th. So they're the 19th best team out of the top 8 remaining. So I think that says a lot. So I like the Chiefs as well. And then I'm feeling we disagree on this last one. Seattle, Green Bay. I assume
you get the point for picking Green Bay too. Their BFF ref is refereeing the game.
Cleve Blakeman, I assume you're talking about. He so the last time he officiated that game or the Packers game, they didn't cover. They won outright against Detroit, but they didn't cover the spread.
Yeah.
So maybe there's going to be a money line bet.
Those calls were favorable to Green Bay, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But Seattle doesn't get blown out. They keep all the games close. Russell Wilson is an underdog of I believe 4 or more, or 4 or more. He's I think he's 6-2 against the spread in his career. Seattle just doesn't lose by a lot, and I think Seattle's going to keep this game close. And Green Bay, they haven't played that well this year. They're 13-3. In Week 17, they needed Kenny Golladay to get a concussion to win that game, to beat David Blau. They're not playing well. They if Jeffster Horsted laterals the ball, the Bears might win that game. The Panthers, they were an inch away from beating the Packers in Lambeau. The Lions were a couple of bad calls away from winning in Lambeau. I think the Packers are an inflated 13-3 spread, a 13-3 team. And if you look at DVOA, Seattle is higher than Green Bay in DVOA. I think they're 8th and Green Bay's 10th.
Mary, you got they weren't playing that well when Brett beat them in that snow game too. There's a history there with Green Bay and Seattle. What's the spread on this one right now? What's it at today?
It's at 4.
Well, I'm going to give you a bold prediction. Green Bay 24, Seattle 20. So there you go.
Oh,
push.
You can bet on the push.
Play that.
You can technically bet Green Bay to win by 4 in some sports. You can do that. So yeah, we have that there. So we have 2 agreements, two disagreements. So maybe we'll go 2-2. We'll both go 2-2. So we'll see. All right. Anything else before we sign off?
I'm ready for this week's playoff.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So good luck to everyone this week. Hope all your contests do well on DraftKings, and just make sure you don't have 2 accounts, or don't make it too obvious if you do. Actually, by the way, before we sign off, I heard someone say that this all could have been avoided if her account was "I like beer" at 27. Like no one would have thought anything of it. But they knew who she was based on her name. So there's that.
Like
so
beer at 27.
That's all they need.
Or just don't text to somebody congratulations, right? Just stay out of that, because you're gonna screw up. They always say if you commit a crime, there's gonna be 7 mistakes right off the top of the bat that you didn't see. And so, but anyway.
Tell your famous friend not to tweet anything out. So that's it. That's it for this week. You can go to walterfootball.com, updated fantasy football rankings. 2020 NFL mock draft was updated today. NFL picks against the spread. We also have free agency rankings. I ranked the top 100 NFL free agents for March, and we have them by position as well. So check that out and tell us how your teams did this week on DraftKings. Tell us who your favorite quarterback is and your favorite receiver is. Do you have Tyreek Hill over Devontae Adams? I think that's an interesting topic. So let us know. And otherwise, talk to you next week.
All right.
Same here. Y'all take care. We'll see you later. Bye.
Love you guys. Bye-bye. All right. Guys, great job, man.
Yep.
You're a very patient man, too. I don't know how you do it.